Because it burns when you pee and you got a UTI.
No, I like cranberry juice.
Oh. Well, when I totally did not have issues with burning
Jarrett, you want
urine.
to start going? You want to start reading?
I do. I really do.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Has to Do with Spider-Man, I think, the #1 Sony Pictures Universe of Marvel Movies podcast. I'm Peyton.
I'm Jarrett.
And I'm Noah.
And if you're joining us today, you are listening to the sequel to a movie that originally started off as a spin-off to a fake movie that was going to be a real movie. So you're kind of jumping in at an odd point.
Yeah, I think that about covers it.
Yeah. Jarrett, what are you bringing us today?
Guys, I'm bringing you the sequel to Shocker Ends of the Earth. Or Montana Ends of the Earth? It's Shocker Ends of the Earth. However, as we get into this script, I feel like that will not really apply as much, and that'll make more sense as we get further in.
I've never known how to title stories about this character. It's so frustrating.
It's weird because, and this, it's frustrating, not frustrating necessarily, but challenging because it's like, I mean, he's Montana, he's Jackson Bryce, which is one of the two Shockers, but he's not really Shocker, but he does do Shocker stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the shock gauntlets and he calls himself Shocker, but really the story is much more about Montana than like anything related to the Shocker. So It's weird. Yeah, so this is actually, I think, the first instance of one of our characters that we've kind of taken ownership of being written in a fully brand new story by one of the other hosts.
Oh, yeah.
I think it is. I think this is the first time that an original character is created by one person and then followed up with by another. Up to this point, it's either been sequels to pre-established movies or dealing with original characters that we ourselves established in the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a bit new for us. I didn't even consider that.
It's interesting.
Yeah, so historically, Montana has been a character written by me, Noah, from where he first appeared in El Muerto as one of the combatants in the Muerto... What did I call the tournament? The tournament for the mask.
Máscara de la Muerte.
Yes, that's the one.
I can't remember the tournament name exactly.
The Torneo de Máscara de la Muerte.
Yeah.
And then he reappeared in his own project with Shocker, or Montana and the Enforcers, later retitled Shocker and the Enforcers, wherein he and his two compatriots, Ox and Fancy Dan, attempt to start their own criminal enterprise in New York City to disastrous results. Then Montana reappeared in Lethal Protectors as one of the Lethal Protectors. And now he is here in technically his very first solo project.
That is true. This title has a very referential background to it. I remember when we were first kind of talking about Phase 2, I can't remember who threw it out, but I was like, I think it would... I remember having a sort of idea of a chase movie titled Shocker, I'll Chase You to the Ends of the Earth, based off of the thing from the 90s Amazing Spider-Man cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
Where Spider-Man shouts at the top of his lungs, Shocker! I'll chase you to the ends of the earth!
You can't escape me! Which is such a ridiculous... He gives it his all when he has because that's when he's wearing the black suit.
Yes.
So he like really, really gives it his all.
He just throws his all into that.
Yeah, so what particularly called you, Jarrett, to writing a Shocker pitch? Of all the characters that we have gotten to write so far, Like, why didn't you go with, like, I don't know, Hobie or Uncle Ben
Bro's not self-conscious at all.
or El Muerto maybe?
Um, I feel like Montana's just really been the standout character
True.
for several pitches. And I know he's not everybody's cup of tea. He's a very specific type of character. But from the moment this guy was introduced, I'm like, that guy is a treat. And I wanted more of him, and every opportunity that we got to include him in something, it was fun to hear his dialogue. It was fun to see him interact with other characters from the movies or other original characters. He was the one that always just stood out to me the most, is like, I want to see more of that guy in particular.
Just the two of us.
We can make it if we try.
But yeah, I just, when I thought about which character I would want to actually follow up on in their own solo story, it's like it's gotta be Montana. It's gotta be Shocker.
True. There's certainly the aspect too that Noah had done the perfect fan casting of this character. And Noah, you incidentally kind of predicted the Goggins aunts. The renaissance of Walton Goggins. He's been in a lot of things, but most recently he has taken off completely. And when you first were like, I want to do the Enforcers and Walton Goggins is playing Montana, there was this sort of aspect of like, oh, okay, like I didn't really care who Walton Goggins was. But then it was your performance of him, and then also like that is the perfect casting for that character. That, yeah, he's been the standout character of this pod. And I think that also really shows in the predictions that we've had for this episode.
Yes, let's get to predictions.
Of all the episodes we've had so far, this one has, I would say, probably the most amount of predictions. At least here, and also on the Discord, and also on the Blue Sky. Discord is free to join, by the way. Be sure to join it. Come and talk.
That is fascinating.
Yeah. So I kind of picked out my favorite ones, and I'll just go through my favorite ones. I've picked out 3 of them. So coming out from the Discord, Halloween Jack says, I expect an art film about Montana going on a lonely pilgrimage to the Arctic. No dialogue. Lots of long, lingering wide shots of the icy tundra, a trippy ending, and Ang Lee as director.
That's phenomenal.
Okay.
Ang Lee, from Hulk, of course.
Yeah.
Piss Claremont, also known as Luke on the Discord. Sorry, hold on, I gotta lock in. Piss Claremont says, I think Montana is going to get another persona, Miles Stewart, to separate from his Jackson Bryce persona, but things get even more complicated when he gets caught doing karaoke and becomes a viral star, resulting in the need for another new persona, Hanson Montana. But when Kingpin wants Hanson to perform at his Kingpin ball, and still wants Jackson dead for crimes as a Shocker, and has no idea who Miles Stewart is, things are gonna get a little wild. So it's a Hannah Montana pastiche.
Okay.
He successfully guessed that the title is not the ends of the earth, but it is another celestial body. Shocker, the best of both worlds.
Actually, I'll do 2 more. So Zach on the Blue Sky says, while this film seems more grounded and personal, I imagine the whole Shockers group, and specifically Herman Schultz, would get a mention. And then similarly, Comic Fan Studio on the Discord says, I predict that Shocker will meet a new batch of Enforcers, or a new group besides the Lethal Protectors. So yeah, I was also gonna try something new for this episode as well, and I said it may or may not work, but I said if anybody had any sort of developmental questions about like what you were kind of thinking about when composing this pitch, or like what motivated you, some of your inspirations, etc. And one of the questions that we got was, where are Sticks and Stone from guest Piss Claremont? And
I don't think that's developmental.
which is not a helpful. No.
That's not a developmental question.
Yeah, that's not a developmental question. So the experiment did not work. We will not be doing that again.
My developmental question for you, Jarrett, what snacks were you eating while you were composing this?
Yeah.
To be truthful, this has taken shape very slowly over the course of over several months. So just so much food, a mixture of a variety of many things. Most of them unhealthy.
Did you eat a potato griller from Taco Bell?
I might have at least once.
The brand new potato griller from Taco Bell.
What?
The brand new quesalupa from Taco Bell.
That actually takes us into my director pick. I've gone back and forth on this.
Don't tell me.
Holy shit.
Don't tell me.
Oh my gosh, we quoted that. No, wait.
What?
Is it Mangold?
Mangold was considered.
Okay.
Mangold was considered, and that was why that reminded me. Because Peyton and I had a conversation about this. I kind of gave him an idea of the vibes I was going for. People who follow the Booski know that on the post for this particular pitch, the directors chosen were the Coen brothers.
Huh.
Specifically for the vibe of No Country for Old Men.
Oh, yes. Oh, I see the issue.
Well, first off, they don't work together anymore. I don't know if that was some sort of like drama behind the scenes or something. But in my mind, I was like, okay, so they reunite for this movie. I don't know.
I don't know if you're continuing with part of that story, but yeah, I think part of it was some drama behind the scenes.
Understood.
Intriguing.
I don't know if this is like on the pod or not, but I think their big like disagreement split is that one of them was involved in like a filming a
That's the Safdies. That's the Safdies.
Oh, that's the Safdies. Okay, brothers. Never mind. We're good. The Coens are good.
The Coens are good. The Safdies are blokes.
Okay. One of the Safdies are blokes.
Oh yeah, no, not these guys.
Dog of a bloke. That one Safdie brother that I think did Martin Supreme.
Martin Supreme, yeah.
Martian Supreme.
Martian Supreme.
The brand new Crunchwrap Supreme from Taco Bell.
Shut up.
You can cut everything that I was saying about drama. I got the wrong brothers.
So I don't know if the Coen brothers have actually had any sort of beef behind the scenes. They've started doing their own work individually. That was the pick, and as you'll see why as we get into this script, in pieces. The further I got into this story, I couldn't maintain that tone. It just wasn't in me. There are moments here and there where you're like, golly. For the most part, it's not quite that bad.
Okay.
So I reeled it in. And I tried to pick something that was a little bit more in line with the vibe I was going for. And the person I picked, Lee Isaac Chung, who is known for a lot of smaller movies, mostly indie films. However, big two things: an episode of Mandalorian and Twisters from 2024.
Heck yeah.
Twisters, I think, much better captures the vibe I am going for with this pitch. It will still have moments that I would consider darker than anything in Twisters, but not to the level of James Mangold or the Coen brothers.
Fair.
So the trailer for this wouldn't have Johnny Cash?
What'd you say, Peyton?
The trailer for this wouldn't have like Johnny Cash's Hurt in the background. It would probably have like a pop remix of Hurt in the background.
I'll actually discuss that now as well. We're getting into a lot of this before we even jump into the script, but the soundtrack for a film really affects a lot of how I work and what I want to put into a film. A lot of times, when I sort of steer off of that cliff, I steer off out of that way, I kind of get a little directionless, as you kind of saw a little bit with Silver and Black. For this and Dr. Octopus, I needed a vibe, and so I collected like my own little mini soundtrack in my head for the vibe I was going for. I had a lot of like old orchestral pieces for Doc Ock that were like sounded very sinister. For Shocker, Jackson's never been like good old boy, grew up out west, lived there my whole life kind of vibe. He's a cowboy in the middle of New York. So I went for the vibe of what a lot of people who live in the South or out west would call fake country, which is basically just R&B infused country, and the people who say that tend to be coming from a pretty like biased, racist kind of angle a lot of the times when they say that.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking Post Malone, I'm thinking Shabuzi, I'm thinking along the lines of the songs that you used, Noah, which the name is on the tip of my
This
tongue,
ain't
man.
Texas. You can't hold them.
Yeah,
Texas hold
Like
'em.
Texas Hold'em.
yeah.
Hmm.
Why is the artist's name
That's Beyonce, dude.
Beyonce? Jesus Christ. I don't know why that was escaping my mind, but songs that immediately topped the charts and stayed there for weeks, but everybody who regularly listens to it is like, this is so I wanted the vibe of like a person who is in that scenario, in that environment, but doesn't really fit or doesn't feel like they belong.
I like that.
So throughout this, I think I have one or two specific mentions of songs, but a lot of Shabuzi, a lot of Post Malone country,
Cool.
similar vibes throughout this film. This would be one of those heavy soundtrack, like Twisters, just a lot of songs.
I like that a lot.
Me likey.
We could even add Ain't No Love in Oklahoma.
Oh, man.
Are you guys ready to get into this?
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
All right. Submitted for the approval of the podcasting board. I have here Shocker, Ends of the Earth.
You can't escape me.
Cold open. We fade in on the remains of Morbius's secret hideout, last seen in the final fight of Lethal Protectors. We pan down and enter the building, seeing the destruction left behind from the battle. We hear conversation in the distance and voiceover.
Not an animal. I'm not one of these things.
Please don't make this any harder than it needs to be.
Do you hear me? I'm not one of these things. I'm not a monster. I am not a monster.
Tell that to the judge.
Lee is cuffed and transported away. Was Martin Lee. We're flashing back to that final scene in Lethal Protectors for everybody listening. Closing on the wreckage, we hear a different conversation also in voiceover.
He said he's gonna chase us to the ends of the earth.
He's a kid.
Light emanates from the other side of a damaged wall while we hear this in the background. Slow pan around through a doorway to face that light. A man in shadow is watching them converse before also being distracted by it. He wanders towards it.
He dislocated Lee's kneecaps with no struggle.
Okay, he's a strong kid.
The building is dilapidated and run down, with exposed mold and fungus in random spots from water damage and the like. We see that patches of it are swirling with color, humming with a bright black energy, pulsing, otherworldly, unnatural.
Why am I the only one freaked out by this?
We need to get out of here.
The sound of hurried footsteps as the Lethal Protectors quietly escape the scene. The man in shadow looks down at these patches of growth, his face lit by the coalescing energy. We don't recognize him, but he smiles. Title card, Shocker, Ends of the Earth.
A lot of recent returns to Lethal Protectors this last, after we've come back from our little hiatus break.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of fallout from that big event that we definitely want to. Everybody wants to explore the fallout from that in different ways.
Yeah. Will, most recently from You Begin in a Tavern, came and pitched Cloak and Dagger, and that had a bit of the fallout from Lethal Protectors in it. And also had an intro scene that kind of took place during Lethal Protectors.
Hold that thought about Will's episode. If you guys haven't seen that, absolutely do. But that'll come into play here very soon.
Will it?
Will it? Will You Begin in a Tavern it?
Let's keep going.
Act 1. The title card fades out to a black screen. Hard cut to the New York City skyline. Text reads, 2 months later. We hear the sounds of the city for a moment. It's loud, claustrophobic, people yelling, screaming, honking horns. We see two people screaming out of their car windows at one another, barely a couple feet apart. We linger here for a moment. It's oppressive. Hard cut to the silence of a luxurious office. Wooden chair in center frame. A man with a bag over his head is violently thrown into the chairs and tied down. An unseen figure rips the bag off the man's head. It's Jackson Bryce, played once again by Walton Goggins. He looks around the room he's been placed in before looking directly into the camera. Reverse shot. It's Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, played once again by Liev Schreiber. He's in his classic all-white tuxedo and purple undershirt, diamond-tipped cane and all. He nods at Jackson. Evening, Jack. Jackson nods back, apprehensive, but also too tired to do something about it right at the moment. He looks up at the person who sat him in the chair. It's Herman Schultz, arm folded, holding Jackson's hat.
Can I have my hat back, please?
I see you met one of our newest additions to the crew. Turns out those gauntlets you got can be mass-produced. Helps to have the one who designed them on the payroll too, of course. Jackson looks over to one side at Herman, who stares down at Jackson with contempt.
A man's gotta have his hat, Fisk. I want it back. Right now.
Fisk sighs and gestures to Herman to give Jackson his hat. Herman looks upset by this clearly, but he reluctantly walks to Jackson and smushes the hat onto his head, crumpling it a little, pressing it down into his top of his head. Jackson, satisfied but making a mental note of the new guy, turns to Fisk.
What do you want, Willie? I know you don't want me dead, because if you did, then Great Value over there would have done it already.
He turns to face Herman.
And what's with the bag, anyway? It's not like I don't know where we are.
Fisk shrugs. The bag was the kid's idea. I don't think he really thought it through, to be honest. Figured I'd let him have it. But I didn't bring you here just for Herman to get some kidnapping practice in. I need your help, Jack. Fisk explains that there's a new force out there trying to gain power in the streets. This on its own wouldn't really concern him, but they're using some new drug that seems to be harnessing the abilities of that Mr. Negative from a few months ago. This makes Jackson sit up. He'd been under the control of that energy before. He knows what it can do and just how dangerous it can be. Fisk wants him to lead a small team in raiding an abandoned subway tunnel where they think the new gang is holed up. Jackson is not thrilled at the idea of working for or alongside the man who murdered his partners, which he makes very clear to Fisk. But the thought of more of that negative energy being weaponized in New York shifts his priorities a little in the moment. The idea of it seems to scare Jackson. He agrees to help, but only if they destroy the weapons. It cannot get into anybody's hands, even Fisk's. Fisk agrees, saying he wants them removed from the streets entirely. Fisk holds out his hand to shake Jackson's. I'm glad we were able to come to an understanding. Jackson looks down at his hand, looks up at Fisk, and walks away. But not before socking Herman in the gut on his way out.
Hats off limits, capiche?
Herman wheezes some expletives in response before dropping to his knees. The message is heard loud and clear. Jackson nods and walks out. They follow Jackson down, leading him to an entire floor of their building dedicated to a massive mechanics warehouse. Jackson looks around in awe at the insane tech being worked on here. Energy blasters, shock gauntlets, electromagnetic gloves meant to mimic a certain wall crawler's abilities. Jackson wanders aimlessly in awe at the scale of it all.
Like what you see?
Jackson looks up from the wall-crawling gloves to see the Tinkerer, played once again by Catherine O'Hara. Now, very recently, unfortunately, Catherine O'Hara did pass away. We discussed it off in our own private time, and we decided we do want to recast and keep with current events. And Noah picked a certain actress. Would you like to share who you have recast the Tinkerer to be?
Yes. The Tinkerer shall be played henceforth by Jennifer Connelly. Not Jennifer
I thought it was
Connelly,
Jennifer Coolidge.
The Tinkerer will now be played, from this point on, by Jennifer Coolidge.
I both love it and hate it, because, like, the moment you said it, I was like, oh god, no.
It's such a shift.
But the longer I think about it, it's a shift in a direction that I didn't expect for that character, but it makes sense from a different perspective.
I think it does kind of help to define where we will want the Tinkerer to go in the future.
Okay.
But we can talk about that later.
The Tinkerer smiles and holds her hands out to Jackson as she closes the distance between them.
I can do a pretty bad Jennifer Coolidge impression. I do it at work. But
Go for it.
God, I'm so glad they didn't kill you. I told them you would be willing to see this through.
She raises her voice over his shoulder.
Didn't I, boys? I told you you'd be an asset to us, did I not?
Gosh, this is amazing. Tinkerer looks back at Jackson.
Now, follow me. Let's get you some upgrades.
Incredible.
You look like the
Perfect.
4th of July. Makes me want a hot dog real bad.
We cut to a smaller office. Tinkerer takes a few measurements of Jackson's form before placing a gigantic welding helmet over her head and lighting a metal cutting torch. I put this song in there just because I wanted something that was very, like, just death grungy, like, kind of music. But also, another song popped in my head. Hell Yeah by Rev Theory.
Never heard of it.
Fair enough. Look it up. Song cue, Hell Yeah by Rev Theory. This plays over a sequence of this older, innocent-looking woman absolutely rocking the fuck out while she just starts cutting and welding shit together. We don't get a very clear look at what she's doing yet, but she is clearly having the time of her life.
That's my tinkerer.
For real.
Old blonde white woman just like listening to death metal and welding shit. Eventually,
hype.
Jackson gets her attention, which cuts the music. He grabs her shoulder and pulls her to one side. Jackson leans in close, muttering under his breath.
You know, if you need help getting out of here, I can help you.
Tinker looks up at him, confusion on her face, followed shortly after by disappointment.
Oh, Jack, come on. You can't be serious. You don't think... I'm not being held against my will, Jack.
Jackson looks surprised.
Fiona, when me and my boys, I tried to set up something of our own, you helped us. You knew the danger Hammerhead posed. I thought you of all people would know that Fisk is just as bad, if not worse. I'm serious. If you want an out, I can get you one. I know people.
Tinkerer backs up a step.
Okay, let me make myself clear. I helped you because I was being stifled creatively by Hammerhead. I was forced to make certain things a certain way, and that was all. You offered a way to flex my muscles a bit. Now Fisk lets me do whatever I want, however I want.
She gestures to her massive workshop, all bought and paid for by Fisk.
You think I want out? I never want to leave. I mean, what more could an artist like myself ever ask for?
Jackson's shoulders slump, defeated. He feels truly alone in this moment. Closest thing to a friend he thought he had here has shown her true colors. Tinkerer turns away from him. There's concern in her eyes, as if she knows what she's saying might not be entirely truthful, but she doesn't show it in her voice.
You are an in-between job, that's all. Now go and check back with Mr. Fisk to debrief on the plan. I have everything I need from here.
Jackson sighs and makes his way back to Fisk. When he arrives, Fisk is already discussing strategy with a crew of unseen goons. Fisk is the first one to notice Jackson has returned. Ah, Mr. Bryce, you've returned. Got some people to introduce you to. The three goons turn around to face Jackson. What stands before him is... him. Or at least a younger him, along with two other young goons dressed as Fancy Dan and Ox. They're played by Austin Butler, Montana,
Holy crap.
Dacre Montgomery, Fancy Dan, and Damson Idris, Ox. Jackson already looks exhausted.
Fisk, who are these three?
Oh, them? They're my new enforcers. Thought you might like them. They're the spitting image of your old posse, wouldn't you say? Jackson mutters
You son of a...
and takes a step forward like he's going to get in Fisk's face, only to get two pistols and a pulse gauntlet aimed at his face instead. Montana speaks in a frustratingly good old Western accent. Now, I'm going to do this in not a frustratingly good old Western accent, but the point is that Austin Butler is great at this vibe, and he's fully selling it.
This is amazing.
Now, why don't we take a step back from the Kingpin, yeah? Wouldn't want to spray your head against the wall right after we just met, would we?
Ease back on that there, bucko. I've been using the fake Western accent for long before you were even in diapers. So you couldn't get the real deal, so you made your own. Fisk? Really?
Now Fancy Dan speaks.
Hey, that's Kingpin. We don't say his name.
Jackson rolls his eyes.
He happened to tell you boys what happened to the last enforcers?
Now Ox responds to him. They were sloppy. Amateurs. We won't make the same mistake. Fisk chimes in. Enough. If you four are done showing off, you have a job to carry out. Fisk starts back from the beginning, explaining how their intelligence suggests that the gang itself is not very large, but is slowly growing by the day. They're believed to be hiding out in an abandoned series of New York subway tunnels. He indicates the points where they'll be able to access the tunnels on a map.
How'd you get all this?
Fisk gestures to the wall behind them. Leaning against it is a man dressed in a dark suit with amber-orange accents on the inside and chest pocket. Closer look at the suit reveals it to actually be a deep, dark shade of purple. The four of them step back instinctively. He hadn't been there when they sat down, nor did they hear anyone come inside the room. How did he get there? We were able to retrieve a very interesting blood sample from the site of Mr. Negative's arrest. Unfortunately, we've only gotten one successful test subject out of it so far. We call him the Spider, thinking we may pivot to something a little more radical to see if that yields more results. But we owe all of our progress this far to him. Fancy Dan goes to shake Spider's hand.
Hey, man. Thank you. We couldn't have done this without you.
Spider looks at Dan's hand, up at Dan, and without a word, vanishes into thin air. They all look around, but Spider is gone. Fisk chuckles. He does that sometimes. Let's continue. Jackson looks around the room. No sign of Spider. He gets visible chills. Shakes it off.
God, I hope there aren't any more of those Spider people around. Give me the willies.
So I'm going to stop and clarify with what the Spider is. Because this is taking place before most anything in Phase 2, at least this part of it, when they discovered the blood sample of Peter Parker, their first idea wasn't clones. Their first idea was to recreate his Peter Parker's abilities and give them to other people. It wasn't working for whatever reason. None of their scientists could figure it out, and Miles Warren's heart wasn't really in it, to be honest. And they only really got one successful test subject out of it, which is the Spider, who is played by An Hyo-seop. I definitely butchered that pronunciation, but he plays the main demon boy K-pop star in K-pop Demon Hunters.
Okay.
He's going to be a very strong silent type. He's not going to get a lot of lines here, but he's meant to be a very imposing just force. And the character he's based on doesn't have invisibility in the comics. I just felt like that might be a very good gimmick to give him, since he's has a lot of this darker color palette going on with him.
Okay.
After they realized that they couldn't give people powers with Peter's DNA, they pivot to cloning after this. Fade out from here to an empty New York street at night, a subway grate center frame. Montana and the new enforcer step cautiously, peeking around to ensure they aren't being watched. Jackson is relatively calm. He's done this before, while the others clearly look too shifty. They're new at this.
Keep cool, will you? You're gonna set someone onto us.
Ox says, how do we do that?
Just, I don't know, pretend like you belong here. Like you know what you're doing. If you let yourself feel out of place, then other people will think so too.
Dan and Ox, heeding Jackson's advice, confidently stride over and begin to try prying the sewer lid from the street. Jackson rolls his eyes. Montana glances their way, then back to Jackson. You know, I didn't get a good chance to say it before, but I'm actually a big fan of your work, just so you know. We all are, really. And we're looking forward to, taking over the name now that you guys have, disbanded, for lack of a better term. Ox is struggling to lift the access grate by himself, only for the Spider to decloak himself nearby, making Ox jump back. Seemingly nobody else knew that he had been there this whole time. Spider immediately lifts the grate with no effort, tossing it to one side like it was made of paper.
Fisk had two of my best friends turn on me for a payday, and then had them shot dead instead. If either of the three of you are smart, after this job you'll get far away from him.
Montana frowns, but doesn't respond to Jackson. They make their way down into the subway access tunnel. Part of the subway system in New York was in the middle of renovations at one time, but the budget had dried up. Certain branches of the system have now been left abandoned for several years at this point, leaving these tunnels to be the perfect spot for criminals to hide and run underground networks. The crew drops into a completely dark section of tunnel that spans on in either direction, as far as the eye can see. Flashlights shut on, and they begin to walk. The sound of a pair of invisible footsteps can be heard and seen following a few paces behind the group.
Can you quit that, please? You are giving me the ever-loving creeps.
Silence for a few seconds, and Spider decloaks and continues walking. He looks a little annoyed. Jackson is familiar with some of these tunnels from running with his boys back in the day, and he helps guide the new guys around some shortcuts through the system once they realize that going straight for them will lead to a blocked passage. After a while of searching, they eventually stumble onto a community of homeless people. Not just a few, but there's a small community here, some with children as well. They seem to have been here for some time. One speaks up.
Please, we just need medicine. We didn't know where else to go. We didn't know what it would do. Please.
Jackson is confused. He was told they were trying to find a rising criminal power down here. This is the spot. They weren't supposed to find scared families. But when he turns to question the new enforcers, they start to ready their gear. All right, boys. You remember what the boss said. Fisk wants them all off the streets. No survivors. Jackson quickly realizes what's going on. Fisk played him again. He needed help getting a team in there to these people so that he could have them all wiped out. Families. Children. He sees Dan raise both pistols. Fire twice. He leaps to jump in the way. Too late. Boy no older than 12 staggers, holds his stomach, crumbles to the ground. His parents scream before being enveloped in a shimmering black and white energy. Their screams become garbled, angry yells as they turn their emotion onto the new enforcers, blasting, crackling energy in their direction. The new enforcers duck for cover. Spider takes off to the left and vanishes into thin air again. Jackson, meanwhile, is frozen on the ground in shock from the blast. He can't move. He can't take his eyes off the boy, staring blankly back at him, not moving. Images flash on screen of another boy in the park on a bright sunny day. Now it's two boys. Now it's Jackson. He's younger, smiling at them, laughing. He's running with them, playing. Elsewhere, the fight rages on. More and more of the homeless population in the tunnels are transforming due to the fear of the situation. The whole place was a powder keg, and Jackson and the enforcers just threw gas on it.
My fault. My fault. My fault. My fault. It's all my fault.
Montana and Dan are just fully open firing on civilians here. Some drop to the ground while others are overtaken by the negative energy and join the growing army of negative civilians. Spider is tearing into the transformed people, getting thrown around by blasts but seemingly shrugging them off with not much trouble. Finally, one woman rises into the air with the blast from her powers. She yells, screams. The entire tunnel is enveloped in light. We fade to white, ears ringing from the explosion. Cut to black. Fade in on a dirt road in the middle of the night. Beat-up red-tan pickup truck barrels down the road, leaving a dust trail behind. Thoughts so far?
This is nuts.
Yeah, this is pretty intriguing.
The idea of Fisk immediately supplanting the enforcers with his own team just to kind of rub it in Montana's face is really good, and a very, very good elaboration of the idea that he would just make his own shocker army, like was defined in Big Wheel. And I like that we're allowing Montana to be a little moodier in this one as well.
The Coen brothers would not have been a good fit for this. I'm glad that you picked a different director.
It's going to continue into more of a Coen brothers situation a little bit later.
Right.
But they inspired certain scenes.
Yeah.
But as directors of the whole picture, I don't think it was going to work.
Yeah, I think that this is pretty strong. I mean, we're not done with Act 1 yet.
Yeah, we're almost done with Act 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
At risk of coming up with some random name that sounds silly, I'm just going to say that this is Kansas.
Kansas.
So we start in, we're going to start from the top after the fade to, or the cut to black.
Okay.
Fade in on a dirt road in the middle of the night. Beat up red-tan pickup truck barrels down the road, leaving a dust trail behind. It pulls quickly into the parking lot of a small bar. On-screen text reads, Kansas, 1 year later. Woman driving the truck parks and rushes inside, pulling off her coat before she's even in the door. She's played by Linda Cardellini, who most people our age will recognize as Velma from the live-action Scooby-Doo movies. The woman throws her coat onto a bar stool behind the counter and ties on a half apron in one swift motion, dodging the side office where her boss undoubtedly is. Her bartender friend was able to cover for her. She thanks her very politely and runs to help cover the other side. The bar is very busy, and the woman seems to be very well known by a lot of the regular patrons. However, she doesn't recognize one person sitting in the back corner. He's got a big hat on, and his head is down. She asks if he would like to order anything more than the beer he's drinking, and he quietly asks to just have the beers keep on coming. Around this time, a small biker gang rolls in. You can tell they've already been drinking, and they come in and they continue to order more as they shoot pool. Very loud and obnoxious group. These guys are also regulars, but a lot of people are annoyed as soon as they walk in. A few are also being a little flirty, and the woman is not having it. Clearly she's dealt with these guys before too. At first they just kind of laugh it off, but as the night grows longer and they get more drunk, they start to be a little more aggressive. Over the course of the night, the man in the hat has slowly made his way to the front of the bar from the back corner. He doesn't say anything, but he is keeping an eye on the bikers. Eventually, the new guy's presence and attitude starts to piss off the bikers that are flirting with the bartender, and a fight breaks out. The man in the hat steps up to defend the bartender, showing us that he is indeed Jackson Bryce. He is bearded, stumbling, and reeks of booze. Still, he's able to pretty single-handedly beat the shit out of these guys. This drunken fight scene is set to Pour Me a Drink by Post Malone, at first playing quietly on the radio before growing into a full backtrack song. Here we really get to see Jackson show off his new whip that the Tinkerer made for him a year ago. It's now reminiscent of a light whip out of Star Wars, glowing a pale yellow and making little shockwaves when he cracks it. But by and large, this is mostly a fist fight. Jackson is sneaking shots of something strong between getting hit and throwing hits, with some creative uses of the whip for leverage and knocking the gang around a bit, smashing pool tables and columns and the like. By the time the fight is over, most everyone has left and the bar is barely standing. The only person left standing is Jackson, who stumbles around to face the bar again. The woman we followed inside slowly rises from her hiding place behind the bar, and the two lock eyes.
Mary? Jack?
Jackson then immediately falls down drunk as the light of police sirens fade us to black. End of Act 1.
Cool.
Linda Cardellini.
Any additional thoughts now that we are at the end of Act 1?
I wonder who this could possibly be.
Intriguing.
I think one of your biggest strengths, Jarrett, is your action scenes. This Act 1 has 2 big action moments, and just looking at them on a page, and also when you're reading them, they are really captivating. They're really fun to read and really well written. I think that also what kind of is really neat about this Act 1 and these 2 action scenes is one of them is so heavily imbued with superpowers, and then this one is not. Like, that first one has the people that are infected with, I guess, some sort of Martin Lee Mr. Negative ability, and so there's explosions and all this other shit happening. And then this one is much more tame, and yet it still is almost extreme as the one that happens with the infected people in the sewer.
Mm.
So there's a pretty neat juxtaposition here, and one in which, in the face of superpowered danger, Jackson almost kind of freezes up. Meanwhile, in this one, in the face of non-superpowered danger and drunk, so he probably has a bit of the confidence liquor in him, he is able to face off against an entire biker gang in a really cool way. I think that this is pretty well written in terms of action sequences.
Thank you.
I'm liking the direction that is being taken with Montana's character here. I kind of knew a little bit about where you might be wanting to take this story, but I didn't know how we'd be getting there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm liking it a lot.
Thank you. I'm just going to roll right into it.
Let's do it.
Act 2. Jackson wakes up in the county jail. Little rinky-dink sheriff's office with 2 jail cells in it. It looks ripped straight out of the Andy Griffith Show. He grips the bar with one hand, shaking his head.
Yeah.
Oh, hell.
The law moves fast in this little town, and before Jackson knows it, he is already in court for the damage caused to the bar during the fistfight. Conveniently, the bikers who really had instigated the whole thing have already skipped town, and likely won't be returning for a long time. For his sentence, he is forced to help repair the bar that was destroyed, and is considered still in custody until it is rebuilt.
Oh,
However, at Mary's request, he will be held in house arrest at a local motel rather than in the jail. Yes, I am doing a Disney Pixar's Cars 2006, or Doc Hollywood if you're nasty, with Jackson Bryce.
Oh my gosh.
You owe me $32,000 in legal fees.
Most of Act 2 is dedicated to Jackson and Mary reuniting again, while they both volunteer to fix the building, along with other volunteers throughout the town. It's a very tight-knit community. The bar itself has some kind of historical significance, which is why everybody's really putting up a fuss over it. Perhaps it's the home of the town's first residents, or where the deed to the town's creation was signed, something along those lines. Either way, everybody's very in a fit over the fact that it is now a pile of wood. All the while, Jackson is trying to sneak shots of bourbon or what have you from the backroom stock when he's supposed to be helping. At one point, Mary finally confronts him about it.
Why do you do that?
Do what?
You keep sneaking drinks. It's like you're a fish gasping for water.
I haven't been drinking.
I just caught you with the bourbon bottle. Don't lie to me. You and the boy...
She catches herself.
You were always an awful liar.
Jackson notices the slip-up, though, and he seems to recall a memory. We don't see what, but it makes him slowly put back the bottle.
What made you think no one would notice?
That's what the drink's for. Keeps me from thinking. It's better that way.
After this event, Jackson seems to be taking the steps to try and sober up a bit. It takes a while. We see small hints that he's getting better at managing it, but he's still not quite there. It's very evident that in the time spent, he is completely just devolved very quickly over the past year into what the person that we are introduced to at the end of Act 1. At the same time, he and Mary both seem to start rekindling what they once had. It's nothing major, little moments here and there, but they are starting to bond again, rediscovering why they fell in love in the first place. In a perfect world, a further draft of this would actually show these scenes. I do not consider myself very good at writing romance of any sort, and creating little stepping stones to that, so I did gloss over it. I apologize. Meanwhile, somewhere in Indiana, a car stops at a gas station in the middle of nowhere. You see one pair of feet walk to the gas pump and start to fill a car, while the other makes their way inside. Once inside, he finds a pack of salted peanuts, opens them, makes his way to the counter. For the rest of this sequence, the man, Montana, is eating peanuts while this conversation takes place.
Dick.
How much?
99 cents.
This and the gas.
Y'all all migrated west from New York this season?
The man freezes, looks up at the cashier. We see that New Montana looks a mess. Grizzled 5 o'clock shadow and a milky white left eye. The left side of his face is mangled to hell. Think comics Jigsaw, not Netflix Jigsaw. It looks like someone took his face off, blended it, and tried to sculpt it back onto his face.
Oof.
Never said I was from New York.
Your license plate did.
Montana glances at his plate, then back at the cashier. What business of yours is it where I'm from, huh?
I didn't mean nothing by it, friend. I'm just making conversation, you know?
Montana nods, making conversation. Tell me, you seen anyone else from New York make their way in this direction? The cashier starts to look nervous now.
No, I can't say I have.
See, but you said y'all just a second ago. Y'all are migrating. Who else have you seen?
No, I swear I ain't seen nobody, honest.
Honesty. Spider. From behind the cashier, the spider drops his cloak, locking the man's arms behind his head before he can react.
Please, I don't know anything, honest.
See, now there you go again about honesty. I hate that word. It's used by cowards and crooks, looking just to avoid what's coming to them. It's not fair. One of the only thing that's really fair in this world? Montana pulls out his pistol and aims over the man's shoulder at the stone wall behind him. Chance. He fires, his bullet barely carving into the wall, though. That is, before it begins to glow from the inside with golden energy. It spins in place inside the wall, and then boom! It blows a 3-foot hole into the wall, sending chunks of brick and concrete out into the street, letting daylight inside through it. The cashier screams, start to blubber with tears.
Take whatever you want, man. Anything you need, just please do not kill me, please. I got a family, man. I don't want to die. Just let me go. Please.
Montana checks his gun for ammunition. 1 bullet left. He continues to talk, yelling over the man, cries in hysterics. Chance is simple. Chance is fair. Chance is measurable. Now, I've had my fair share of testing my luck on these sorts of things in the past. He gestures to his face, his words breaking out into a sick laugh. And it hasn't really worked out for me all that well lately. But I think I want to try it again. What do you say? Maybe I can make this side of my face match the other. What do you say? I think we try it. He points the gun at his head, underneath the untouched side of his face, squeezes the trigger. Nothing. He glances at the front of his gun, almost looking disappointed, points it at the cashier. Your turn.
Wait. I did see someone. You said you wanted to know about him. He was heading west. Didn't seem to have a direction in mind. He was just driving, I promise.
There's hesitation from Montana. A pause. A shot. And without a word, he turns and walks it back towards the car. Spider dropping the corpse and following him. And that is where we're going to take our break, folks.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Jarrett, I gotta say, that is probably your best voice acting performance so far.
We're all kind of kicking ass.
The biggest reason that the Coen brothers popped in my head is that scene of Javier Bardem in the gas station with, I think it's cashews in that scene.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Call it.
It's the coin toss. But in this, it was the Russian roulette. That's my big pull from this. The difference is that in that scene, there is no music. It is tense as hell. and all they're doing is talking. And then by the end, Javier just walks out, and he doesn't shoot the man, but the man is very clearly just slowly getting more and more nervous and very scared. And then Javier just leaves. This Montana is not that chill. He got messed up bad, and he is not taking it kindly.
Seems that way.
And he and Spider are after Jackson. I purposely leave it vague if the rest of the enforcers are dead. When I was originally writing this, I think my intention was that they both died in the big explosion, and Montana is pissed that he lost his brothers or his friends, but I purposely leave it vague.
Ain't nobody like playing Ox and Dan can ever get a break.
There was a version of this early on where only Spider survived. It was interesting because I really wanted that idea carried over from Lethal Protectors, where Montana is just scared shitless of spider people.
Yeah.
And now there's one who is very angry and very powerful and very pissed off at him specifically. It didn't. The longer I tried to make it work, the harder it became. So I was like, I gotta have a second guy in there, because he was very much a strong silent type when I was writing him. He's very quiet. He's very just do the job and get on with it. Winter Soldier-esque almost. I found it better to have not a good cop to his bad cop, but like somebody who can break the cold, like the cold nature of the other guy and sort of bounce off of that.
Mm-hmm.
There was also a version of this where Fancy Dan was the only one that survived. The face thing is a carryover from that. The idea that the pretty boy one is the one who's the only one that survived of the three and is mangled to hell for it.
Sure.
Pretty boy.
The chance thing matched with the mangled face reminds me very much of Dark Knight Harvey Dent.
Yeah, I will be 100% straight with you. That didn't occur to me until I was like almost done with this scene. And I was like, damn it, man. I was like, this is just Two-Face. I didn't want it to be Two-Face, but I guess it's Two-Face.
I remember there was a previous... I remember you were DMing me casting, and you said at one point that you wanted Jacob Elordi to play either Fancy Dan or Montana.
Mm-hmm. I wanted Jacob Elordi for Fancy Dan, and it occurred to me that he's like 6'8".
Yeah,
I was like, I cannot have the white boy taller than Ox. It was like, I can't do it.
The fancy white boy.
I
think
that we gotta save Elordi for something.
You got something in mind?
I do have something in mind. I'll need to think about it a bit more, but I think Elordi is a character or an actor that we have got to put in something eventually. So do we want to take a break and I need to make myself a little cup of coffee. I've had a long day today, so I'm gonna make myself a cup of Joe.
Yeah, we're right back into it. How's everybody doing?
I'm doing amazing. I'm doing, frankly, the best.
I'm doing great.
I got some coffee. I'm gonna be wired for the rest of the night. I won't be getting any sleep.
Yes, dude.
Yeah.
Man, I should have got some cranberry juice.
Because it burns when you pee and you got a UTI.
No, I like cranberry juice.
Oh. Well, when I totally did not have issues with burning
Jarrett,
urine.
you want to start going? You want to start reading?
I do. I really do. Can we, please?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Returning to Act 2. Throughout Act 2, there's also this subplot going on where Montana notices there is evidence of D-Light drug trade going on in this little town, which is shocking because this place is really small. It's very tight-knit, very under the radar. You'd pass it by. It's Radiator Springs. You would pass it by and not even notice.
When you say Montana, do you mean Jackson here?
Yeah, excuse me.
Okay.
It got very confusing writing. I tried to separate it out by saying that Jackson, like calling him Jackson and calling the new guy Montana.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good. I get it now.
By this point, we know that drug is in fact called D-Light. A month or two after Lethal Protectors, when it was first refined from fungus that absorbed the energy from the final battle in Lethal Protectors, there was no name for it. A year later, post Cloak and Dagger, We're fully in it. And it is a well-established thing in this world that he is both aware of, but doesn't know a whole lot about. He just knows it's bad news, evidenced by his experience at the beginning of Act 1. He tries to scope out how bad it really is and see what might be going on. He doesn't really know why, but he does know that deep down he doesn't want bad things to come to for these people. He's starting to bond with different characters throughout the town, which I have skipped over as well. Think Radiator Springs cars.
Is there a guy that like styles cars and he's kind of like Ramon?
Sure.
Hey, you got it, man.
Please cut that. We cannot cut that.
You need white wall tires, man.
He did it again. He really did it again.
Oh my gosh.
Low and slow.
He did it again.
This is oh my gosh, Patreon bonus nose impression.
My Cheech Marine impression?
Yeah.
Yeah. Continue.
This whole time, Montana also has trying to be secretive about it for fear that if he makes a big fuss, the trail might go cold. So he's having to sneak around his admittedly very generous house arrest situation that he's under, one that Mary vouched for him in order to get in the first place to investigate the situation. He starts to disappear at random points throughout the day and come back later with no explanation, pretending like he's been there the whole time. Mary immediately realizes this, obviously, and thinks he might still be trying to run off to go drink. However, there's no evidence that supplies from the storehouse are going missing, so she's a bit confused. Eventually, she does catch him sneaking back into his motel room and has to fess up to what he's been doing. This leads into a bit more of a conversation about his past. Obviously, he up and vanished one day, but she's seen the news. There was big shit going down in New York, and he was also in Mexico for a while before that as well. She clearly recognized him. He was on TV. She knows her husband's face.
Ah, hell.
But wonders why he doing the cowboy gimmick.
I mean, you never grew up in this area. Hell, you never really liked it here to begin with. You made it work because you wanted our boys to grow up in a wide open space, but you never much cared for it. So why the cowboy getup?
Jackson doesn't really explain the criminal aspect of his past, but he does share that it was a way to keep that part of him close, even way up in New York.
Jackson, if you wanted us close, then why did you leave?
Jackson does not respond, instead changing the subject back to the D-Light ring. Long story short, they know they can't go to the cops because this has very deep roots that go back to some very powerful people. He should know. And he knows that putting that much heat on this little town would result in the whole place just disappearing off the map, most likely. Mary decides she wants to help, which shocks Jackson, but with some convincing he gets on board with the idea as well. Probably has something to do with the fact that she threatened to tell the police about what he's up to if he said no. So this starts to happen a little bit in the background, and we see the following lead to a small house that's off the beaten path. They're following leads, and they end up in the middle of nowhere. They're eventually able to track down this little group within the town of people that they know who are secretly running this really small operation. People that they talk to regularly and were like somewhat friends with, which is shocking to them. That's a whole thing. They clearly get their supplies from bigger fish, but it's all here. This leads into a little fight, and we get to see that Mary is actually the one that taught Jackson how to use the whip in the first place.
Heck.
She grew up in the West all her life, and when Jackson moved out west with her to settle down and start a family, he picked that stuff up from her. He grew up north, closer to New York. He didn't know any of that stuff. So she's carrying around his old gear and a shock gauntlet, and he's got this new vibro whip from earlier, and they are just having a blast, having the time of their life. Action scene, music, they're fighting drug dealers, and it's fun scene. That is until their provider reveals himself. It's Montana and Spider. Nice to see you again, Jack. Wish I could say I missed you, though. Then the same thing that happened in Act 1 happens again. Somebody decided to take too much, or was given way too much by Montana, which is way I'm leaning, and they go fully negative and they explode. This triggers Jackson's PTSD and flashbacks again to what happened when we saw Act 1 again with his kids. We still don't quite get enough information from these flashbacks to see what happened in those scenes, but we do see that there are some small moments where maybe he was arguing with Mary. We can't quite tell what it was about or why they were angry with one another, though. What we can see is that Jackson seems frustrated and maybe a little unsatisfied with their life as it stands. When the debris from the explosion clears, Jackson is gone. He bolted in a panic off into the night. In this moment, he's fully relapsed. Any progress that he made through this process of community service mixed with reintegrating into the community is gone. He breaks into the bar, steals the strongest thing they have from the stash, and by the time he's broken down his motel door, he is already beyond hammered. And then we see him in this fit of tears and anger, mumbling to himself.
It's my fault. It's my fault. It's my fault. It's my fault. It's my fault.
Jackson throws his stuff to one side, rips his hat off, and flings it on a couch. Rips his boots off, leaves them on the floor, stumbles through his pockets for a bit, finds what he's looking for. A few spare capsules of D-Light. He snagged them from the hut in the middle of nowhere, where those guys were holed up. He places them on the table. He stares at them, considers them for a while, before bringing his fist down onto them with a yell. He stares at the black and white powder on the table, breathing hard, tearing up, and in one swift motion he leans forward and quickly does a line before laying fully back on the couch. There's silence for a moment. Nothing but the sound of the night and Jackson's breath. From here we fade to a POV of Jackson's memories that we've seen flashbacks of throughout up to this point. But now they're playing in full. Him and his wife are playing with their two boys. First, they're still just infants, and they're playing cops and robbers in the backyard, a little older, playing tag in the park, riding the merry-go-round, eating pretzels. It's a long montage of scenes we've only seen snippets of up until this point. Jackson is playing cops and robbers with his boys. We see him get ready with his wife and children for a day out in the park. It's the kids' birthday. They are twin brothers. And the boys really just want everyone to spend the whole day together and have fun in the warm summer air, no interruptions. They're laughing and playing throughout the day, each with their own little cowboy hat and toy pistols.
Jackson, snap out of it.
We cut back to the motel. Jackson is on the ground, unconscious when Mary arrives. She sees him, checks to make sure he's alive, checks the room around him, and we fade to black. We cut back to the memory. We see one or two people making their way to the group. Can't really see their faces. Just shadows, really. Without warning, they walk up and start firing weapons. From here, we cut again to Jackson as he wakes up on a different couch. Not one he recognizes at first. He sits up, looks around, and realizes that he is in their home. Their old home. The one he saw in the flashbacks, the one that he lived in for years with his wife and sons.
No, I can't be here. I have to leave. I have to go right now.
Mary is having none of it, though. She steps out of the kitchen with a warm cloth to help him, but she is not having the sap story at all.
You're going to tell me what's going on with you and what happened, or so help me, I will take you back to that cell myself, and you will never see me again. Do you understand me? Jackson, what the hell is going on?
Jackson slumps, defeated. There are tears in his eyes. He's weeping softly to himself.
Boys, I just want to see him again. It's my fault. It's all my fault. I did this.
Mary starts to put the pieces together on what she stumbled into when she followed him to the motel.
Did you take D-Lot?
A beat. Jackson does not respond.
Jackson, listen to me. You didn't do this. What happened that day was not your fault.
Yes, Mary, was my fault. I got them killed.
Jackson shares the story, seemingly for the first time with anybody else. Their boys were growing up. Jackson loved them, loved their family to tears. But he never clicked with domestic life, not really. Something never quite fell into place like he felt like it was supposed to. Something was off. So he took odd jobs on the side. Business trips were actually smuggling runs or working as extra muscle for the mob. He got in too deep with the wrong people. He realized how important his real life was to him, and he tried to back out, but that's not how these things normally go. Jackson's children were murdered by his boss as a lesson to keep him in line. Whether they had been gunning for his family the whole time or just wanted to kill Jackson and the boys were just caught in the crossfire, Jackson did not know. He probably never would. So he left. He packed a small bag and drove away one night. He couldn't bear to sit in that home knowing he was the reason their children were dead. Jackson knew it was wrong, that he was abandoning her when they needed each other most, but the grief was too much to bear. Mary takes this all in. Once again, we're dealing with two people in one of my scripts, suffering from loss, who were never able to communicate and give themselves time to grieve. Mary gets up to leave, feeling betrayed, tears in her eyes. She opens the door to their house, stands in the doorway staring at the open night air. She's honestly on the verge of kicking him out. She turns back to look at Jackson on the couch. He hasn't looked up, not even meeting her gaze, his head in his hands, tears streaming down his face. She breathes, shuts her eyes, shuts the door in front of her, and sits back down. This is reminiscent of the panel, one of the more famous panels, where MJ almost leaves Peter when he is in a very emotional state. Clearly can tell that he is really struggling, almost leaves, shuts the door, and goes back to his side. She places a hand on Jack's shoulder.
What happened next?
Jackson is surprised she's still there. He had convinced himself that if he ever told her, she would shut him out for good. But that hadn't happened. He slowly gains enough composure to tell the rest of the story. Up to this point, Jackson hasn't really opened up to Mary. This is the first we see him being totally honest with her. Jackson says he traveled to New York, went back to the only thing he ever felt he was truly good at, crime. He committed to the Western gimmick, chose an outfit that reminded him of his boys as playing robbers, even though he grew up closer to New York than Kansas. He found new friends he could call his boys. New friends. He learned to bury the pain rather than grieve. He went from a goon to a boss to a superhero, briefly, only to wind up back where he started, drunk, grieving, and alone. Fortunately, this is where I kind of got hit down to the wire. To put it mildly, they reconnect. She assures him that she is there for him and that she will always be there for him, but that right now they both are in serious danger from this person. It's not explained here, but Jackson does explain to her who they are and what they want. But the important thing to note here as we close Act 2 is that a severe wound that has festered for years has finally started to heal for Jackson, and they both set out to find Montana and Spider. And that's the end of Act 2.
I like it.
Okay. This is very good. I can see why. It's darker. It's much moodier, a little grittier. But I like this as a way for Jackson to finally confront his pain and heal.
I agree.
I also love all of the references to cars.
I think we touched on at the beginning why I felt like it was so interesting to follow up on Montana, of all people. He's not a powered person. He doesn't have like this interesting power set. He doesn't have these things that would make writing a superhero interesting from like an action standpoint, but from an emotional standpoint, what little we did know about Jackson's past was really interesting to me. And the idea of what that was and how he came to be in the position he was in under Hammerhead when we first meet him was probably the most interesting thread that we had not picked up on since Phase 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I desperately wanted to see that story told, and it was scenes like this where he finally gets to talk about what happened and get to reunite with part of his family that still is alive and start that healing process that was never really talked about up to this point. But the idea of losing your kids, I don't think, like, he would briefly mention it. Like, it would be a short line. Almost, I think in Lethal Protectors, it's actually an icebreaker joke in a scene. He's like, I lost both of my kids to gun violence. And he's like, I thought we were sharing. I'm sorry. And that's all we get. And I was like, what the hell do you mean, gun violence? What? Why are you like this if that has happened to you?
Uh-huh.
I simply needed to hear that story told to the point where I was like, I'm putting my name down now because it was the character that just resonated most with me for that reason.
Sure. I'm really, really glad that you decided to take this.
I heard you sniffling.
That's my allergies.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
I'm sitting right next to my cat, Beetle. Want to get in Act 3?
Yeah, we might as well rip the Band-Aid off now.
What was the other prediction?
Oh
Here
yeah. There was a prediction from Andy.
from editor Andy. I predict that this is the Jarrett redemption arc, and that there's a fully fleshed out third act. We believe in you.
You predicted wrong. I'm a piece of shit. This entire third act is bullet points. I'm so sorry. I have failed both our audience and myself. I hope that the Act 1 and 2 makes up for that.
Oh my gosh. No, we can work with this.
In many ways, I don't even know what I'm going to write for my Act 3 until I know how Act 1 and 2 go. A lot of people are like, well, you just write the big scenes in Act 3 now, and then you write the in-between. It's not like they're not pieces on a string board that you tie together eventually. It's like a step. You don't jump from the first step to the 10th step because you don't got that much leg. You got to walk up the middle ones so that you know what the last one looks like. Or else you chip and fall on your ass.
You don't got that much leg.
Don't got that much leg. Leg no work that good. So unfortunately, my own writing style, I can't do that very well. I know some people are able, like, I can envision my Act 3, I just need to get there. I can suss out vague ideas, but I don't know how the specifics work until I've already set them up in the end of Act 2. A lot of times.
I completely understand that.
We have very descriptive bullet points, I think, and I'd like for us to expand on them here, which I think would be very interesting and fun to do, but unfortunately, Andy, you did not get your wish. I am sorry.
Okay.
We're gonna jump into
Andy,
it.
put one of the transitions of the Hannah Montana after Jarrett says after Jarrett says, "I'm sorry, I disappointed you," but ooh, yeah, like one of those transitions.
Okay, now
you can keep this part in now.
Get back into the swing of things here.
Act 3. I hate you. Act 3.
Oh wait, I got a quick question for you before we get into Act 3.
Yes.
So would you say that when we didn't really talk about it in the Cloak and Dagger pitch, but now D-Light is obviously canon, and that is actually originated in the Cloak and Dagger pitch from Will. It's almost hard. The Spider-Man video game did a lot of, when they were doing Marin's stuff, there was a mix of course, black and white. When we're seeing this, are we seeing this as in black and white visual, or what?
You mean when he sees the flashbacks? How would they be visualized?
Yeah.
In my mind, I always considered them to be, you know how you kind of see flashbacks or background, or you sometimes see flashbacks in films as having that sepia tone.
Mm-hmm.
Similar to that, so they wouldn't be entirely black and white,
but sepia,
but kind of faded black and white, the color's been sapped out of it a little and desaturated, so you can tell that it's not quite right, but it's the visual of, hey, this isn't really happening. Although the fact that Montana is playing with his two twin sons, probably the giveaway for that.
Mm-hmm. I think because he's taken this D-Light, it could be cool. The almost perfect middle ground is for this to be blue, and we're almost harvesting these sort of
Don't
colors.
Say that. No. You quit that sentence right now.
Lead to the movie to be called Blue Harvest.
What happened to Peyton?
I disconnected him.
No, don't you think that this is a good idea? It could be. Yeah. Isn't Blue Harvest the working title of the original Star Wars?
Shocker, Blue Harvest. Go fuck yourself.
I think it was, actually.
Yeah.
That's an obscure bit of trivia that doesn't really get brought up that often.
Yeah. Let's get into Act 3 now. Sorry. But in all seriousness, I do like kind of imagining flashbacks in different colors and
Mhm.
playing with the aesthetics.
I'm gonna go to Act 3 now.
For sure.
That's good.
Act 3. Jackson and Mary make their way back to town, and almost immediately they can tell that they are being watched, but they don't know from where. They are being hunted by the spider. We get
My
this
spider.
slow, dread-filled scene where they try to determine where he is based on how the wind is moving or like certain things, because they can hear him moving, but they can't tell exactly where he is, so they're always like a second or two behind when he moves. Trying to spot like that invisible outline that you see in movies when something's invisible, like the Predator. Like, oh, there he is, but you can't see him, but you can. Like that kind of visual. They're trying to spot that and they can't. They're having difficulty because it's also pitch black night. There's some lights, but like spotlights or street lights, but they're not really helping. At one point, they are able to bait him into landing in paint from the construction site for the bar, and the spider is drenched in black paint. And upon doing this, he freaks out from being seen when he doesn't want to be seen, and goes and hides. Montana is on a roof when this is happening, and when he sees that his ace in the hole has already been taken out this quickly, or has been handicapped, we'll say, cut off at the knees, their big ace in the hole with the invisibility, he goes ballistic. He's firing wildly at both Jackson and Mary with those shocker bullets from the roofs of buildings, jumping from one roof to another, because they're like, I'm envisioning like all the buildings are like very tightly packed together, so you can very easily like hop from one to the other. And he just, each bullet fires and then like blasts the hole in the ground. Like mines are going off behind them. Talking mad shit too, because he is insane. And just talking shit to Jackson the entire time. Mary probably makes a comment like, you know this guy? And he's like, I knew him for like 2 hours. I don't know what his deal is. He's obsessed with me. It's crazy. They know that they can't fight him from a distance with him firing guns. They can't really reach him with the whip or the gauntlets the way that they would in close quarters. So they make a break for the bell tower in the small town in the hopes of getting cover and potential high ground to be able to track him from. This leads into the bell tower scene that everybody knows. It makes me so fucking mad that I did not put time to the side to write this out. But long story short, Jackson and Mary are trying to run up to the top of the tower as fast as I can, while Montana is yelling about, Jackson, you can't escape me, you son of a bitch! I'll chase you to the ends of the fucking earth! Just
Hey, that's what this
complete meltdown.
This the name of the
Hey, that's the name of the show.
yeah.
All while Spider, drenched in black paint, is crawling up the inside of the building very quickly to get at Jackson, which of course freaks him the hell out because spider people are weird and he doesn't like them. So I've split it up between two people. The yeller is Montana, but there is also a spider person crawling after them as well. Jackson and Mary both get to the top. Montana and Spider are right behind them, and a fight ensues. Mary and Jackson are holding their own now that they're in close quarters for a bit, but very quickly the fight tips in Montana and Spider's favor due to the fact that that half of them are able to lift a truck with one hand. And they are on the verge of killing both Mary and Jackson for a bit. Montana has both hands on Jackson's neck on the ground. Jackson is turning blue from the strain. He's trying to just... If Montana could squeeze his head off his shoulders, he would do it. He is just fully in it. And you know how bell towers work. It's like straight down in the middle with the bell on top. Mary notices that Jackson from the strain has now dropped his vibro whip. He stretches out for it just as Spider tries to pull her back away from it, and she gets the very end of the handle just in time, turns and cracks the bell, sending a shockwave through it. No symbiotes in this scene like in the original clip from the cartoon series, but a bell that large clanging that close to your head with that much power will mess up anybody, especially someone with spider sense. Enhanced senses. Spider and Montana both grab their heads in surprise and pain before both are tossed off and over the ledge by Mary and Jackson down into the center of the tower. They both fall in a heap, Montana very gruesomely landing on his neck. Loud ass snap. Maybe the bell falls on him too for good measure. Fuck that guy.
Nice.
Mary and Jackson embrace. Maybe you do that movie thing where it seems like Jackson has died because he's unconscious from being choked the hell out. And he goes, and he's fine. Fade to the next morning, and it is the grand reopening of the bar that they have spent the entire movie, or 2/3 of the movie, rebuilding. Which means we gotta have a barroom dance sequence, baby! Montana is not drinking, but he is getting his boogie down to a bar song by Shabuzi.
Nice.
This is where we finally get our first, and hopefully well-earned by this point, kiss between Jackson and Mary. The dance continues as Jackson whoops at the sky, a la Rocket Raccoon in Guardians Volume 3, cutting us to black. It's the end of Act 3.
Lovely.
Intriguing.
I really liked that.
Yeah.
That felt like a very specific kind of character piece. I think he did my boy well. I really like the idea of separating Shocker and Montana and Jackson in this way, where Montana ends up representing the part of his past that he really wants to forget and get rid of, and everything related to that. And so you have that taking physical form with Austin Butler, so that he can return back home to Mary and rediscover himself and kind of just be Jackson, which hurts for the branding of this film, but it works for the character arc that we've set up so far for this guy.
As an added note, this world got rid of its of the enforcers, made its own Shocker, and now made its own Montana.
Mm-hmm.
Where does that leave Jackson? It's not really it's not a world that he wants to take part in, but he has watched it move on and replace him the moment he decided he didn't want any part of it. And so it was important to me in this script that Jackson become, and I discussed this with Peyton a little bit in private, but it was important to me that this character become a secret third thing.
Makes sense.
There is a Shocker. There is a Montana. Where does that leave Jackson? He's somewhere in the middle. He's got the Western thing going, but he also is using that Shocker tech, but it's integrated into the Western thing. I did also give Montana Shocker bullets. That was just kind of cool scene in the moment. But the point that I was trying to get across is that Jackson has become his own character. Like something in between the things that he used to be that have now melded together into this unique character that is neither one or the other completely. At his core, he is just Jackson.
Yeah.
Now that is kind of bad for branding. Like you said, I guess he would still go by Shocker if you asked him, but there's also like 12 of them in present day in the phase. So, I don't know how we call him going forward.
I kind of wonder, there's an almost cool visual of perhaps if this was to be a real movie, kind of juxtaposing, like, when we first see when we first see Jackson showing up in the, like, year time skip, he's bearded, he's disheveled, he looks all fucked up. And I think Montana, as in Austin Butler, having, like, a bit of his face messed up, there's a part of me that kind of wonders, maybe as the movie was to continue going, it's a physical corruption on Austin Butler Montana's end, where more things keep happening to his body, like he keeps taking sustained damage to it. So like initially he's blinded in that one eye and maybe has some scarring on his face, but then like with some of these action scenes and whatnot,
The dude just keeps getting screwed up.
yeah, further messed up. Meanwhile, with Jackson getting himself cleaned up, he eventually becomes clean shaven and that sort of Walton Goggins looking archetype that we all kind of know. Like I'm imagining Cooper Howard Fallout season 2. Do you see what I'm kind of saying? Like,
Yeah.
as he
I
gets
did want
as
I did want the visual, like his person, like to improve physically over time, obviously to showcase that he was getting back on the wagon, so to speak, as he went along due to the effect of being in this community.
Mhm.
That would definitely be a good visual way to indicate that. I will say, at one point in this script went through a lot of what I call partial brain drafts, where like each character was like, and he'll do this in the script. And then as I wrote it, I was like, he's going to do more like this in the script. And then by the end of it, it was like, he's going to drop those two things and kind of do this third thing that works better with how this other thing evolved as well. At the beginning, the main villains were going to be, the new enforcers were going to be throughout the script, but slowly getting picked off over the course of action scenes or what have you. They were being thrown at the problem like fodder, and Montana would be the last one left. The difference being that Jackson, those things were taken from him, and in doing that, he kind of went down low and has picked himself back up. Montana lost those things, and rather than like go down and pick himself back up or like potentially like improve himself from this situation, he demonized Jackson and found a villain found a person to vilify, and everything else went out of his mind, and as a result he lost his boys as well. But that version of the character didn't care because he was just laser focused on killing Jackson. One guy had it happen to him, the other one did it to himself in his quest for revenge. That one didn't quite work as I went along, but just drafts. There was also a version of this where the villains were just the demons, but if the demons were old white cowboys.
Lovely.
Early versions of this script, rather than the drug delight, were the weapons of the demons, like in the comics, where it's like scythes and chains and like different like street gang weapons that are infused with that energy. And it was like underground weapons trades. But then Cloak and Dagger came out, and I was like, a drug makes so much more sense.
I like that.
And because of that, it changed certain elements. And then Jackson being brought down low again in that end of that second act, to the point where he does a hit of the stuff so that he can relive some memories with his children. I was like, that's so good. It's really dark, but that's so good.
Sure.
What I'm trying to say is thank you, Will, because it shifted my perspective and I came up with some really cool ideas as a result of making that small change that he introduced.
Yay. We love synergy.
This isn't the first time that a guest episode has had an effect on a main pitch, because we did a bit of that. I did a bit of that with the holiday special that I wrote. But y'all, if you're not listening to the guest pitches, give them a listen. Yeah, why? And also give them a listen. They are so fun. We've had a lot of great different voices come on. I highly recommend those guest pitches. And who knows? A lot of the times these people come in and they give us these sort of ideas that we couldn't have thought about at all. And they end up having ramifications on a main pitch like this one did.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to jump into the mid and post-credits scenes very quickly.
Okay.
Sure.
The post-credit scene is not written, but I will describe what I want it to happen. Mid-credit scene is very brief, but it is written. Mid-credit scene, the night after the grand opening of the bar, or that doesn't work time-wise, really. So I'll just say the same night of the final battle, after Jackson and Mary had left the scene. We zoom in on the bodies left behind during the final battle, or rather, just a body. The spider is missing. Cut to black.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
My spider. Where's my spider?
Where's the spider? The spider.
I need to find the spider.
The spider.
The spider.
The spider.
These three girls murdered me in my dreams, so I used facial recognition software from 2001 to figure them out.
So I can find my spider.
So I can find my spider.
My spider. Post-credit scene. This is not written, so I'm going to briefly describe. Jackson and Mary are in a car together, driving not that it matters, but it would be like a short 20-30 minute drive probably. They don't say where they're going. Jackson seems very nervous. Mary is relatively calm. You can tell that we get a glimpse of them there holding hands. Jackson is very like tight fist clenched, but they aren't really saying anything. They get out of the car at a certain point, and they just kind of start walking through the woods, through a small dirt trail. Jackson starts to try and make like an excuse, like I don't really think that, and Mary's like, it's okay. They get a little farther, and he's like, I really don't think that it's maybe another day. I think I just remembered there's something else that I really need to get done today. And she's like, hey, it's okay. I'm here. And they keep going. They end up at a very small cemetery. They wander through. Jackson is not, he's very clearly uncomfortable. He's like trying to, like, he's very tense walking. And he finally sees the stones for Lee and John, his twin sons. And at first he's like, oh, turn around. And she grabs his hand. She's like, it's okay. They both sit down. And Jackson kind of has a conversation with the stones. He just kind of the boys how they're doing. He catches himself. He's like, do I really need to be? Is this necessary? And she's like, it'll help. Trust me. It helped me. And she's just moral support for him while he asks them how they're doing.
Oh, wow.
Tells them how he's been. Tells them what he's been up to. Just has a conversation with the graves for a few minutes. Apologizes that he couldn't visit sooner. He had a lot of stuff to work out. And we pan up to the sky, and that's the end.
Oh, wow.
Perfect ending.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very sweet pitch.
Thank you.
Okay. Great work.
We want to wrap this up?
Yeah, don't really know what much more to add. I think we've gotten to the end of this.
I'm glad people like this. I was very upset that it was not a full pitch.
It's all good, man.
I kept hitting walls and things kept changing. I was like, that makes more sense. That would work better if it was this way. But what's here is really good.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of this. Especially reading it back out loud. I'm very proud of this.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
You should be.
Yeah, you
Thank
should.
you.
Any completed project is a project worth being proud of. That's my stance.
Yes. Good stance, Peyton.
I'm not joking.
Yeah, I know. No, that
Okay.
it was just like very sincere, and we're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is kind of awkward because this scene ended with a very like sweet, kind of sad note, and it's kind of hard to pick that up and be like, well, guys, we hope you enjoyed that episode.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
That's kinda what
come
we
back
gotta
next
do.
time.
Right.
yeah, I'm really proud of this. I hope you guys enjoyed. We'll be back as per normal in about 2 weeks with tell me again what the plan is.
Supposedly it's going to be Aaron Balthazar.
That's right,
Doom
Balthazar from the
Paul.
Dark Universe Discord. Aaron is bringing us one that I would not have expected ever, but supposedly getting a Paul pitch.
Dun dun dun. Yeah, we're letting a guest pitch the main villain of the entire cinematic universe. Paul Rabin. I
Paul
think
the
it's-
movie.
Yeah.
That one should definitely be interesting. And then after that, we jump into, I think the next one is,
Solo.
it's Solo. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was one of Noah's for a second.
No, I'm not until April.
Yeah.
But you've got two
You got
almost
two.
back to back. So
I've got 2 back to back.
Godspeed.
I'm gonna do my best.
Plus maximum clonage. Whatever we.
You got this, man. You got this.
Yeah. I'm excited for Solo.
We really enjoy this podcast, and we're glad you're really enjoying this podcast, hopefully. If you are, please be sure to rate the podcast. We have started to read recent reviews, I believe. Peyton, do we have a new one for today? Maybe not.
Yeah, we got one. This comes from the first annual Has to Do with Spider-Man I Think holiday special comment section. It comes from the wiki owner, JONAH. It says, I always have an incredible time with this podcast and has helped me tremendously with writing. What more can you ask for when it comes to a great fan fiction podcast? I guess I'm kind of biased, but I still think it's going great. Thank you so much, JONAH.
Thank you, JONAH.
And yeah, if you leave a 5-star review or comment on the YouTube comments, you might have it read one day on one of our episodes. Did we talk about the Patreon?
We have a Patreon.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that. Holy shit.
Please subscribe.
Yeah.
We have a Patreon now. We are officially moved over to Patreon as of our guest episode 2 weeks ago. It is free to subscribe. However, if you are interested in supporting us, there is a $5 tier where you'll get some extra goodies. Still in the process of setting up some of those, but one of them is a special extra little 20, 30-minute bonus segment where we get to discuss what we've been watching, reading, or just consuming
Yeah.
for the in between episodes, and new stuff that we want to talk about just outside of the podcast things, which we're going to record here very soon
Yeah.
once this ends. So thank you guys so much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed the episode again. Be sure to tune in 2 weeks for Paul. Get excited for Paul, everybody, right?
Right. Special thanks to Andy, editor Andy, for editing the podcast. We really appreciate you. And Jonah, for hosting the official Has to Do Spider-Man, I think, wiki. And Dylan Roth for the intro music. Yeah.
Which
and
you're
outro
probably
music.
hearing right now.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you guys so much for listening. I'm Jarrett.
I'm Peyton.
I'm Noah. I'm always last, dude.
Okay, alright. Bye-bye.
We'll see y'all soon.
Bye.